From deserts where empires rose to fields where nations burned, and warriors of faith stood unshaken, the echoes of battle still whisper, Old War. The last stand of the forgotten army, the mountains loomed like silent sentinels over the narrow valley, their jagged peaks cutting the sky into jagged shadows. The air was thick with smoke from torches and distant fires. Carrying the metallic tang of blood in the valley below, a small army, ragged, weary, and forgotten by history, made its final preparations. Their banners were torn, their armor dented and patched, but their eyes burned with a fire that had never been extinguished. They were the forgotten army, men who had been sent to fight in a war abandoned by kings and generals, men who had been promised reinforcements that never came. Betrayed and forsaken, they had survived against overwhelming odds, yet now, standing on the eve of the final battle, even hope felt fragile. At the center of the camp, their commander, Amir al-Hakim, inspected his soldiers. His face was lined with exhaustion, but his gaze was sharp and unwavering. He had once been a scholar, a man of letters and learning, who had taken up the sword when his homeland cried for defenders. We fight not for glory, he told them. We fight because there is no one left to fight for truth. The men murmured in agreement, their voices a quiet thunder. Some clutched worn weapons. Others held their shields close, knuckles white from gripping them for days on end. Among them was Tariq, a young soldier barely 16 who had joined the army after his village was burned to the ground. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of responsibility he carried for those he could not protect. Far across the valley, the enemy army gathered. Thousands of men in gleaming armor, led by the ruthless General Malakir, a man whose name had become synonymous with terror. He had pursued the forgotten army relentlessly. Leaving devastation in his wake, he believed that this final confrontation would crush the remnants of resistance once and for all. As the sun dipped below the mountains, casting long shadows across the valley, Amir called his men to formation. Tonight, we make our stand, he said, his voice rising above the wind. We are outnumbered, outmatched, and forsaken. But remember this, no one can take from us the courage that lies in our hearts. We may be forgotten by the world, but we will not be forgotten by Allah. The soldiers knelt together in prayer, the evening sky glowing with a fiery orange. As if the heavens themselves were watching, they whispered verses of the Quran, seeking strength in words that had carried men through countless battles before them. When the prayers ended, Amir raised his sword, its blade reflecting the dying light. Let every man fight not for himself, but for the brother beside him, he commanded. Let our names be remembered not for who we were, but for what we defended. Night fell, and with it the valley became a stage for shadows and whispers. The enemy advanced under the cover of darkness, a tidal wave of steel and fire. The forgotten army waited, their nerves steeled, hearts beating in unison like a drum of defiance. When the first clash came, it was as if the earth itself trembled. Steel met steel in a storm of sparks. The roar of battle echoed against the mountain walls, a symphony of courage and despair intertwined. Amir moved through the chaos, his sword striking with precision, each blow guided by years of discipline and faith. Round him, the soldiers fought not as individuals, but as one body, one spirit, one unbreakable force against the tide of oppression. Tariq found himself facing a veteran of the enemy army, a man twice his size. His hand shook, but he remembered Amir's words. He raised his sword, and in a dance of desperation and resolve, he parried, struck, and forced the larger man to stumble in that moment. Tariq realized that courage was not the absence of fear, it was standing firm despite it.
Hours passed, and the battle raged on the forgotten army was slowly being pushed back. Their lines thinning, their numbers dwindling, every man fell with honor, every wound a testament to their refusal to surrender. Amir saw comrades fall around him, their lives ending in the sands they had sworn to defend. Yet he did not falter. His presence was a beacon, a rallying point for the weary and bleeding. At the peak of the battle, General Malakir charged into the fray, his black armor glinting under the moonlight. His eyes were cold, his mouth twisted in a cruel smile. He sought Amir, knowing that if the commander fell, the army would crumble like sand through fingers. Amir met him at the center of the battlefield, their swords clashing with a sound that shook the valley. Sparks flew, and the force of their strikes sent tremors through the ground. "You fight well for the forgotten," Malachar sneered, "but you are nothing against me." Amir's gaze was steady. "We may be forgotten by men," he replied, "but we are remembered by the one who matters." Their duel was fierce, a blur of steel and strategy. Malachar's strikes were powerful, fueled by arrogance and fury, but Amir's were precise, guided by experience, faith, and a heart unwilling to yield. With a final calculated strike, Amir disarmed Malachar, sending his sword clattering across the rocks. The general fell to his knees, disbelief and rage twisting his features. This cannot be. How? How does a forgotten army defy me? Amir raised his sword above him, its edge catching the moonlight. His courage, faith, and honor are stronger than any army. The remaining enemy soldiers, witnessing their leader's fall, began to retreat. The forgotten army, though battered and broken, had held the field. They were victorious, not through numbers or weapons, but through unyielding resolve and belief in their cause. The dawn rose over the valley, casting golden light across a landscape scarred by battle. The soldiers stood among the fallen, tears mingling with blood and sand. Amir looked at Tariq, whose youthful face was streaked with dirt and tears. "You have fought well, young one," he said softly. "Never forget this day, nor the lessons it has taught you." Tariq nodded, understanding now that the battle was more than just survival. It was a testament to the human spirit, to courage against impossible odds, and to the unbroken chain of faith that guided them. Word of the battle spread slowly, carried by wandering traders and travelers. Many dismissed it, calling the army forgotten, as if history itself sought to erase their existence. But in the villages and cities where whispers of the stand reached, the tale inspired hope. People spoke of the courage of men who had no king, no kingdom, and yet stood unwavering, defending what was right in the eyes of Allah. Years passed. Amir survived, though scars lined his body and his hair had turned silver. He returned to a quiet life, teaching children the lessons of courage, honor, and faith. He would often look toward the valley, remembering the faces of his fallen comrades, the heat of battle, and the cries of victory. He would tell the young ones, "Remember this, greatness is not measured by recognition nor by wealth. It is measured by what you stand for when all else has abandoned you." Forget the forgotten army. They fought so that truth and honor might endure. And though the world might forget, the valley of al-Nasor, where the last stand had been made, carried their memory in every grain of sand. In every gust of wind that swept across the battlefield, the banners, though tattered and torn, had once flown high and proud. And in the hearts of those who believed, they still did. Generations later, travelers passing through the mountains would tell the story to their children, recounting the courage of those who were forgotten by history but remembered by heaven. The last stand of the forgotten army, they would say, is a story of faith, valor, and the unyielding power of belief. For even in the silence of the mountains and the quiet of the valleys, the whispers of the forgotten army could still be heard. A timeless reminder that courage and honor are eternal, and that no army, no matter how forgotten, is ever truly lost when their cause is just.